A man's wife and daughter disappear from the hospital after visiting it for her injured daughter. The man creates havoc after he realizes the hospital has its secret and is behind his family's disappearance. Ray Monroe is returning home with his family. Inside the car is him along with his wife Joanne Monroe and his daughter Perry Monroe. Ray and Joanne are arguing about the Thanksgiving dinner at Joanne's parents' house. Ray believes he will never be enough in Joanne's parents' eyes and will always be criticized. Joanne supports her parents, which leads to an argument. To avoid a further argument, Ray suggests they redo their Thanksgiving dinner by ordering pizzas for the three of them. Perry cannot hear her parents as she has her headphones on. Joanne disagrees and says they are broken and it is tricky to get them fixed now. Ray is in denial as he is going through a rough patch in his life. While they are trying to solve the problem, a car dangerously overtakes them. Perry's music device stops working and Ray has forgotten the extra batteries he bought for it. He promises to buy some at the next gas station. They decide to sing to spend time. The father-daughter duo starts to sing while Joanne stares at the duo with adoration. After a while, Perry says she needs to use the restroom. Ray finds the nearest stop that is the gas station and decides to rest for a while. Joanne takes Perry to the washroom while Ray buys some refreshments for the couple. He collects a can of Coke, a coffee, some batteries, and 2 bottles of liquor. The cashier tells Ray that she only accepts cash, and since he did not have enough cash, he decided to not buy the batteries. When the family reunites in the car, Ray lies saying the gas station did not have battery. Perry announces she could not find her compact. While Ray searches for it under the seats, Joanne goes back to the restroom to see whether she left it there or not. Ray, who is too busy searching the seats, does not realize that Perry has gone too far from him. Perry finds a balloon at a distance and is lured to it. On reaching there, she is menaced by a stray dog. The dog and Perry come face to face. She keeps taking steps backward as the dog starts to walk toward her. She falls into an exposed pit. Ray hears his daughter's call and soon realizes the situation. Ray jumps into the pit too, but he could not save her. When Ray gains consciousness, he hears Joanne call for him. She then runs towards Perry. Till now, Ray's head clears and is focused. Perry keeps screaming in pain. Ray picks her up and rushes towards the car. They decide to take her to the hospital. The balloon Perry followed was a get-well-soon balloon. Ray says he had spotted a hospital a few miles back. He quickly yet carefully drives and reaches the hospital. Ray proposes to get a wheelchair, but Joanne says she will take her inside. He then breaks the line and asks for a doctor urgently. The woman at the reception feels offended by the way Ray is talking to her. Knowing there is no point in further discussing it, Ray returns. Most of the patients in the waiting line are old. Joanne is not happy that Ray did not get any help for their daughter. She asks him to do something. Ray returns to the reception and finds no one. He is frustrated as he knows he cannot return without getting any help. While he is looking at his family, the receptionist returns. Ray pleads to get some help for his daughter. The receptionist says he will quickly be called if he writes the patient's name on the list. Ray follows the order. After doing so, he looks at the staff unsurely. Joanne tells him that Perry is asleep. She hands him her yellow shawl. Joanne apologizes for her behavior earlier. Ray brushes it off. The couple laughs and has a good time. After waiting for a while, he decides to get some refreshments for them. Outside, he witnesses an exchange between the paramedic and a doctor. He hands the cold drink to Joanne, who places it on her neck to ease the pain. Ray is soon called. He is asked to show his driving license and his insurance card. The woman is inputting all the details. She asks about Abby. Abby is Ray's first wife who died 8 years ago. She continues to ask whether the family is an alcoholic or whether they have any mental illness. Ray is frustrated as he believes the questions are all irrelevant. She also asks whether they would be willing for Perry to be placed on the organ donor register, which the couple immediately declines. The woman then hesitates to take any step further as Ray does not have any insurance coverage. People around Ray stare at him skeptically, which is a little creepy for Ray. Perry is then taken to get examined. They meet Dr. Bertram. Dr. Bertram begins to check on the little girl. While he is doing so, he is distracting her by talking to her about the happenings till time. After proper examination, he states that Perry's arm is fractured and that they need to get a CT scan for further examination. The doctor wants to make sure that there is no head injury. Joanne accompanies Perry to get the CT scan. The scanning facility is in the basement and the nurse said they are only allowed to take one guardian downstairs. Hence the mother-daughter duo followed the nurse downstairs. He waves at them and looks at them longingly. Ray decides to stay in the waiting area where he eventually falls asleep due to exhaustion. When he wakes up, he finds the waiting room almost empty. He waits for them to arrive. While doing so, he walks around the hospital and also washes his face to freshen up. After some time, he heads to ask the receptionist about his family. The receptionist informs that she does not have any information as the shifts have changed. Ray mentions Dr. Bertram's name and the receptionist decides to call the nurse in charge for further information. While waiting for further information, he talks to a woman who is waiting for her husband. The woman talks ambiguously, which increases Ray's anxiety. He runs to the receptionist and asks for his daughter and wife again. The woman at receptionist says she could not find any information on Perry Monroe. Ray argues that he had written his name on the clipboard, but the paper is thrown out as procedure. The receptionist says the staff has changed shifts and all the people Ray met with are gone. Ray is extremely frustrated and starts to yell at the receptionist. While he is yelling, he starts to bleed. The receptionist is intimidated by Ray and calls the CT scan department. Ray looks out of the windows and finds a man picking garbage out with a yellow color cloth inside it. He gets a weird feeling about it, but before he does anything, he is distracted by the receptionist. After flirting with the person on the other end of the phone, the receptionist declines any CT scan being done since 9 in the morning, stating that it was done for a 62-year-old woman. While the receptionist is distracted, Ray enters the main doors of the hospital. The receptionist sends calls for security immediately. Ray quickly passes through the corridors. He hears a baby crying and thinking it's his daughter, he quickly unveils the curtain. The family inside it was not Monroe's. While Ray is apologizing for his behavior, security pulls him aside for questioning. A doctor named Lucado comes to his rescue. Ray patiently narrates all the happenings to Dr. Lucado. Dr. Lucado goes through the records but finds no one with the name Perry Monroe. Ray looks around in frustration when he spots the nurse that helped him in the morning. Dr. Lucado calls the nurse. Anne. The nurse meets Dr. Lucado and he asks whether she met Ray before. Anne answers an affirmative but then adds saying Ray came alone and was treated for a head injury. Ray alleges that Anne is lying. He goes to pounce on her but is stopped by Dr. Lucado and the security guard. The security guard pepper sprays his eyes while Anne injects him with sedative. Dr. Lucado orders to take him to a room where he is locked. After Ray partially clears his vision, he escapes the room. He walks through rooms in search of his family. While doing so, the security guard spots him. A chase between the men begins. All the staff and patients peculiarly look at Ray. After dropping a dustbin in the way, he escapes through a door. The security guard is just seconds away but loses sight of Ray. He informs his fellow man about the same. After the exit of the security guard, Ray comes out of his hiding place. He enters his car and starts to cry. He spots a police car at a distance. He hurriedly gets down and starts to run behind the car who has just gained momentum. The cops inside the car are startled when Ray jumps in front of the car out of nowhere. After calming down, he narrates the happenings. The police officers decide to help him and investigate. They enter and one of the police officers starts to investigate by asking questions to the receptionist. While this is going on, Ray spots the security guard. He gets furious and asks him to stay away. Another police officer calms Ray down and asks the security guard to maintain a distance. Ray narrates the happenings again but the security guard calls him crazy. They then head to the emergency ward where they meet Dr. Lucado. Dr. Lucado states what he had learned from Anne, adding that there might be a clerical error in filling in the patient's information. Ray keeps telling the police officers to call Dr. Bertram. Dr. Lucado is hesitant at first but after being ordered, he calls Dr. Bertram. While Anne is calling Dr. Bertram, the rest decide to head towards the CT scan where Ray had seen his family for the last time. Downstairs too, there was no information on Perry. Ray confesses to one of the officers stating that he feels something strange is happening in the hospital and that they should investigate. Dr. Lucado announces his fellow doctor will arrive soon. Anne serves refreshments to the police while they are waiting for Dr. Bertram's arrival. When Dr. Bertram arrives, he agrees to have met Ray before but adds that his fellow Dr. Bruce Volk had examined him after he met with an accident. Dr. Bertram believed Ray needed a CT scan but Ray disagreed and said he would prefer to wait for his wife Abby. The police officers are left confused as Ray had told them that his wife's name is Joanne. Ray tries to explain the situation but he does not sound convincing. He spots a CCTV camera and hopes to use it to support his point. While going through the footage, the camera could only see Ray moving here and there with no sight of Joanne or Perry. All the evidence points out the fact that Ray was the only one who had visited the hospital alone. Ray returns to the emergency room where he finds Perry's shawl. He is in distress. A psychiatrist offers to help Ray in finding his wife and daughter. After narrating everything again, the police take him away with them along with a hospital psychiatrist to the gas station where things originally began. The dog sniffs Perry's shawl and starts to look around. One of the police officers finds Perry's compact. On further findings, they learn that Ray is a recovering alcoholic. The police find a large bloodstain in the pit and arrest Ray on suspicion of him eliminating his wife and daughter. At the moment, Ray takes an officer's gun and locks everyone at the gas station. After doing so, he returns to the hospital. He runs to the basement. Inside the lift, he comes face to face with the same security guard that stopped him before. After putting him in eternal sleep, he finds Perry in a room. Ray quickly rushes in and drags her out of the operating theater along with Joanne. He shoots at a doctor while they leave. While he is driving away from the hospital, it is revealed that his family died in the pit. Perry had fallen and Joanne died after Ray pushed her. The bodies of both of them are in his trunk the whole time and the events at the hospital were just Ray's mind playing tricks on him and not facing the reality of the happening. He has also kidnapped a random patient from the surgery.